You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
Oakwood Place, 100 Years Old, by Sheila Roberts, read by Kent Lepley. Standing at the foot of Wahpeton Hill in Hardy is the beautiful, rugged house that was once the home of the Turners. After attending the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis and viewing a square log home on display, Sterling Price Turner returned to Hardy and decided he would have one built of his own. Turner, originally of Ash Flat, married Fanny Davidson of Evening Shade and moved to Little Rock, where he attended the University of Arkansas and worked at the Arkansas Gazette prior to moving to Hardy around the turn of the century. In Hardy, he not only operated the Turner Mercantile Company, but was also president of the school board and a member of the state legislature, as well as an organizer of the Farmers Bank of Hardy, where he served as president. He was also instrumental in getting Highways 62 and 63 routed through Hardy. With the help of his wife, he was able to get a high school established in Hardy. In 1911, he contracted the Martin brothers, Jess and Edmund Fountain Martin, in 1911 to build the square log home, and so this year marks its 100th year. The bedrooms are spacious and have doors that go to the adjoining rooms. A nameplate is on each of the bedroom doors for each of the 6 Turner children who once lived there, 1 son, Aubrey, and 5 daughters, Lois, Addie Lee, Joe, Allie, and Nina. The bedrooms, all upstairs, open to a large hall where the children once played on cold, wet days when they couldn't play outside. There's also a large native stone fireplace where their stockings hung at Christmas. There are restrooms upstairs, one off the hall, and a balcony where you can see the staircase that goes down to the main floor. At the bottom of the staircase is a tall door that can completely shut off the upper level. On the main floor is a galley kitchen with an informal dining area. Also in this house is a beautiful formal dining area with large beams running across the 12-foot high ceilings. An 11-foot wide built-in china cabinet with lovely woodwork and glass windows, truly the work of an artisan, is a nice feature to this lovely home. Mrs. Turner was active in the Methodist Church, in addition to raising her children and helping her husband in his civic work. She also entertained often. In the large foyer is another native stone fireplace. Adjacent to the foyer is the library, where there are built-in bookcases and storage spaces underneath pocket windows. The windows in this house actually slide into the walls. It is a unique and elegant design, especially for this time period. The library was the room where the Turners displayed their cedar Christmas tree glowing with candles. Outside the foyer is the wide, shady porch that towers above the street below. It is unusually private for a front entrance, situated as it was so that no passerby could see those above. This was the gathering place for the Turner children's friends. On the other side of the foyer is the living room, beautifully decorated in rose-patterned wallpaper, contrasted by the beam ceiling and sturdy wood features of the home. The living room was where 3 of the Turner sisters married. Along the drive going up to the house is the carriage house. Here the horses were at one time housed in the basement. Mr. Turner loved horses, dogs, and fox hunting. Today the exterior of the carriage house is still preserved, while the interior has been converted into a guest cottage. Of course, the house was built in the days before indoor plumbing, and so out back can be found the original 3-hole outhouse with the traditional crescent moon carved out of the front door. The house still retains its original light fixtures, which once burned oil, but have since been converted to electric. This house was the first house in the state to have a steam heating system installed. From its origin in 1911 to 1995, the house was owned and occupied by the Turner family. The daughter of Aubrey Turner, Margaret Turner Rutledge, and her husband, George, lived at Oakwood Place for some time. Then from 1995 to 2007, Johnny Williams owned and operated it as a bed and breakfast. Oakwood Place is currently owned and enjoyed by friends and family of Francisca Huszar. The Martin brothers' grandsons come to visit Francisca from time to time and reminisce over the stories of the building of the house as told to them by their family and to admire their grandfather's work. It is this melding of the past and present that make this grand house so special and an example of things and places in Hardy that are enjoyed as much today as they were a century ago.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
Celebrate the 4th at Lake Thunderbird by Cindy Harris and read by Kent Lepley. Celebrate. To observe a day or event with ceremonies of festive activities. Thunder on Thunderbird Independence Day Festival at Town Center in Cherokee Village is set to blast the 4th of July 2011 into the history books with live music, fun, and of course, fireworks. According to Thunder on Thunderbird founder Jack Lowe, Celebrate is exactly what attendees will want to do if they are anywhere near Lake Thunderbird. Festivities will start at 11 a.m. at Town Center with the bouncy house, paintball, shooting gallery, dunk tank, and other games ready to feed the fun. Kids should be prepared for extreme excitement and an abundance of smiling. We're going to have 3 times as many vendors as last year, including many more food vendors such as funnel cakes, hamburgers, hot dogs, and most of your favorite fair food, Jack Lowe said. Most of the vendors will be set up around the marina and at the village service station. One of the scheduled events is a hot dog eating contest. It will take place at 4 p.m. and promises to be lots of fun. There will be music for everyone, with the band Backflash kicking off the music at 2 p.m. Then Haywire will take the stage at 4:30 p.m. and they will play until 6:30 p.m. Taking over at 6:30 will be Stillwater Hardy. The annual boat parade will be held at 7 p.m., and those wanting to enjoy the show should find a spot on the shoreline near the marina. Following the boat parade will be a helicopter flyover with an air show. It will start at approximately 8 p.m. over Lake Thunderbird and the surrounding area. The grand finale thunders in at 9:15 p.m. with the best fireworks show in the state of Arkansas. We are really pulling out all the stops, Jack said. I know it seems hard to believe we can beat the fireworks show we put on last year, but again, Air Magic is coming in to work with us, and we guarantee a bigger and better show than this lake has ever seen. Entrance to the event is free, as is the music, boat parade, helicopter flyover, fireworks, and more. There will be a low cost for food and certain deluxe activities. For those new to the area and to Thunder on Thunderbird, the easiest way to get there is to take either one of Cherokee Village's main entrances. First, beside the building that used to be Jenny B's Restaurant on Highway 62-412. Second, at the stoplight in Highland on 62-412. Both entrances will lead directly to the festivities. Thunder on Thunderbird, bands, fireworks, security, etc. is funded by donations from the public and the event's proud sponsors. To send donations to help with the festivities, supporters can send a check to Jack Lowe, care of Thunder on Thunderbird, 15 Elks Lane, Cherokee Village, 72529. For those interested in helping to fund the fireworks, send donations to Jack Lowe, P.O. Box 573, Cherokee Village, 72525. Jack asks everyone to bring your cameras and get still shots for Facebook and videos for YouTube. But most importantly, bring yourself, family, and friends. Log on to rockthunderbird.com for more event information.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
Cherokee Acres to be annexed to Cherokee Village by contributing writer Cindy Harris and read by Kent Lepley. Cherokee Acres is now slated to be annexed to Cherokee Village after the second and third reading of Ordinance 2011A as required by law. Both times a roll call vote was taken, and Alderman Ken Veers was the only opposing vote each time. In addition, Ordinance 2011D, calling for a special election of levying a 1% sales and use tax with the City of Cherokee Village, was read for the first, second, and third times, voted on, and passed with Alderman Tom Thone being the lone no vote each time. The special election is scheduled to be held September 13th. Verna Mae Newman gave a report on the AR Municipal League conference that she attended earlier this month. She said that there are 500 cities in the state of Arkansas, and 495 of those cities were represented at this conference, with over 1,400 mayors, aldermen, clerks, treasurers, and city attorneys in attendance. There were 30 different classes offered, and all of these would count toward the 21 hours of continuing education expected of all aldermen during their term of election. Newman said the classes that she attended were excellent, and the topics of the other classes were all pertinent to the duties of the attendees. Newman also stated that in light of the fact that in 2011 there are 1,023 new laws that affect cities, she felt it was an injustice to the citizens of Cherokee Village that the council didn't approve funding to send Lana Hamilton, city clerk treasurer, and Terry Roman, systems administrator executive assistant for finance, to the conference. For Newman's trip, she paid the $500 expense out of her own pocket, and so there was no cost to the city. Newman also reported that the state of Arkansas was increasing each city's portion of LOPFI, the Policemen and Firemen's Retirement Plan, by 1% per year for the next 5 years. This will be another burden on the already stressed Cherokee Village budget. David Crane, Street and Road Department head, reported on the $20,000 he requested for the hiring of 3 temporary workers. He was able to get grants to pay for some of the expense, and so he needs to use only part of that $20,000. In other news relating to the new Fred store coming to Cherokee Village, City Building Inspector Charles DeLoach reported Fred store is submitting their plans to Cherokee Village on Friday, June 24th, and so their plans are still on go. The ordinance for the franchise fee, 4.5% of each customer's bill from the Cherokee Village Water Department, has not been appealed, and the 30 days allowed for that appeal has passed. This means that this fee goes into effect in August, and since citizens pay water bills after usage, the amount of the franchise fees that the Water Department gives to Cherokee Village would be 4.5% of the September bills and due 30 days later. There has been no direct contact from the Water Board to the City of Cherokee Village on this matter, so Mayor Heffley is going to meet with Steve Rose, Chairman of the Water Board, to determine what their intentions are. The Animal Control Department was discussed, with Police Chief Ricky Crook giving a report on the actual numbers of animals currently housed. He said that it is currently within the allowed limit and gave comparison cost for feeding and housing the animals versus euthanizing them. He concluded that there is very little savings in euthanizing them, if any. One reason is that 14 of the dogs are on a list to go to a rescue organization soon, and that organization is providing food for those dogs until transfer takes place. It is quite common for these animals to be sent to rescue missions when they have room. The question was asked again by Alderman Jerry Adams if any of the surrounding towns were contributing to the cost of the Animal Control Department. Chief Crook said that he had talked with the police chiefs of the surrounding cities, and they all said that the initial cost of contributing is preventing them from participating. Adams then pointed out that these 3 cities, Hardy, Ash Flat, and Highland, all have sales taxes, which Cherokee Village does not, yet they say they can't afford to help defray the expenses of Cherokee Village housing and caring for their strays. On another note, Bill Matzelboba, a Cherokee Village citizen, stated that 9 blue barrels have been set out at various locations for donation of dog and cat food to help minimize the cost of feeding these animals. He estimates that 60 to 70 pounds of food have been collected and donated in the last couple of weeks. If you're out and about, remember to drop off any spare cans or bags of cat or dog food if it's within your budget. Current locations accepting pet food donations include Price Chopper in Hardy, in Highland at Alco, Stuff Thrift Store, Shaw Veterinary Clinic, and Karen's Pet Grooming, in Ash Flat at Tri-County Farm and Ranch Supply, Dollar General, and North Arkansas Veterinary Hospital. This will help these animals tremendously. Councilman Lynn Maxedon praised the department heads on their efforts to cut back on costs in an effort to help balance the budget. He then reminded everyone that the Financial Task Force will meet at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, July 7th, just prior to the City Council meeting at 6:30 p.m. All Cherokee Village citizens are invited to attend.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
Cherokee Village Budget from an Employee's Perspective by Cindy Harris, read by Kent Lepley. According to Lana Hamilton, Clerk Treasurer, and Terry Romans, Systems Administrator, Executive Assistant Financial, the problem with the Cherokee Village budget did not come up overnight, but has occurred over a couple of years in looking at the budgets from 2009 to 2011. They also agree that there is more than one reason the budget has come under scrutiny in 2011. One obvious reason, as previously reported, is the decrease in the funds from the Suburban Improvement District, SID, due to their revenue decline from property assessments. This amounts to approximately $250,000 less to Cherokee Village's income side of the budget for this year alone. In addition, there's been a loss of revenue from the state turnback funds and state sales tax returns because, given today's financial climate, citizens are not spending as much on gasoline or on retail merchandise. The state also recently advised that each city in Arkansas will be assessed an additional 1% of their LOPFI, Firemen and Police Retirement Fund, beginning in 2011, and it will increase by 1% each year for the next 5 years. On the expense side of the budget, there was an expenditure of $484,000 in extraordinary expenses not previously in the budget. Most of this was heavy equipment that was necessary to do road work, which included an excavator for approximately $140,000. Other expenditures included approximately $88,000 for the building that will house the farmers market. This building serves more than one purpose. The main reason for the purchase of this building was to store extra street department equipment to keep it out of the weather. There are also intentions to eventually have this building certified as a Red Cross shelter in the event of natural disasters displacing citizens from their homes. Other extraordinary expenditures include approximately $19,000 for the electronic sign near the Papoose Park, $43,000 for used police cars, and $150,000 for a special hot mix project for the Street and Roads Department that the council wanted completed. The hot mix for the roads is more expensive, however it cures more quickly. In addition, the machines and some of the labor have been contracted out since Cherokee Village Streets and Roads Department doesn't have the heavy equipment needed to perform these jobs. Another portion of these funds was used by the Street Department to buy an excavator. The balance of the $484,000 was capital expenditures. Again, all of these extraordinary expenses are always approved by the City Council and almost always unanimously. Their bottom line number for salaries shows an increase of approximately $20,000 in 2010. This was a combination of increase in police department salaries and taking on the salary of the community service coordinator, whose salary was paid for with a grant until this year. Other than that, their line items on salaries showed minimal increase for 2011. Romans and Hamilton both agree that there are two components to balancing the Cherokee Village budget for 2011 and for keeping it balanced for the next few years. They are, one, continue to monitor extraordinary spending, and two, to increase revenues whenever or however practical.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
District 80 Review by Linda Collins Smith, read by Kent Lepley. State Representative Linda Collins Smith traveled to Washington, D.C. last week to meet with members of Arkansas's congressional delegation about the destruction to the Black River levee system caused by recent flooding in Randolph County. In separate meetings with Congressman Rick Crawford and Senators John Bozeman and Mark Pryor, Colin Smith emphasized the extent of the damage to the levees. I want to ensure that our national legislators understand that this is not a matter of a couple of levee breaches, but that large portions of the entire system have been completely washed away, she said. Colin Smith said she was encouraged by assurances from all three legislators that they already are working to see that all available resources are directed toward repair of the entire Mississippi River flood control system. The Black River flooding was just part of the larger flood that affected the entire lower Mississippi Valley and its tributary systems, said Colin Smith. It's clear that a reevaluation of the overall system is needed. What happened this year and in 2008 was far beyond the capacity of local flood control districts to handle, she said, adding that the present system of levees was designed to handle normal annual flooding. The extraordinary flooding in recent years has demonstrated the need to consider revisions to reduce the damage from future catastrophic flooding. Colin Smith also stressed the importance of moving as quickly as possible. If we were to get more flooding before repairs are made, we've seen the enormous destruction that can happen. On another matter, Arkansas's legislators also expressed support for the Northeast Arkansas Intermodal Authority and its efforts to create jobs by developing industrial super sites in this area. The legislators asked to be kept informed of the progress of the work of the authority. Colin Smith has been actively involved in the early stages of the Intermodal Authority's first project at the Hoxie site. If completed, that project would include construction of a cross-tie manufacturing plant and a rail exchange point to be operated cooperatively by the Union Pacific and Burlington Northern Railroads. The Hoxie project has tremendous potential, said Colin Smith, both in construction jobs and permanent employment. But even more important is the potential for future spin-off development. Businesses that need to use railroad shipping would be drawn to a site that offers nationwide shipping from a centrally located exchange point. Hoxie's location in Lawrence County, adjacent to both Sharp and Randolph counties, would provide nearby job opportunities for qualified working people in District 80, said Colin Smith. While in the capital, Colin Smith also met with members of the Arkansas Telecommunications Association, who hosted a whole-hog pulled pork dinner meeting for the congressional delegations and their staff members. She encouraged plans to expand an educational communications system connecting the state's four-year colleges to include two-year institutions, which would bring the system to Randolph and Sharp counties.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
2011 Sharp County Farm Family of the Year by Thomas Estes, read by Kent Lepley. Justin and Tammy Davis, along with their three children, Kristen, Lane, and Chase of Sidney, are the 2011 Arkansas Sharp County Farm Family of the Year. On the 150 acres they own east of Sidney, they raise chickens in 3 houses, each house containing 12,500 chickens, 50 cows, 40 acres of hay, and 5 acres of pumpkins. Justin Davis's poultry are contracted with Pilgrims Corporation. Davis said, "I'm paid by square footage of our houses, and if we do good with management, we sometimes receive a livability bonus on the chickens." For the past 2 years, the Davises have been one of the top growers of pullets for Pilgrims. Pullets are raised to 22 weeks of age and are brought to Pilgrims twice a year. The Davises also sell cattle at the Ash Flat Livestock Auction and at Fredonia, Kansas. Steers are sent to Fredonia once a year, Mr. Davis explained. Steers are sold there and placed in feedlots. Cull cows are marketed locally. The Davis farm has not been free of problems. According to Justin Davis, since they began, many common farm management problems such as weed control, insect pests on pumpkins, diseased pumpkins, and armyworm outbreaks have cropped up. Davis explains these are all just part of farming. We deal with them by using the latest recommendations from our local county extension office. We deal with poultry house breakdowns sometimes daily. We have to make repairs ourselves. Overcoming rising costs associated with poultry production is getting harder to overcome. We deal with this by good management practices and watching our spending. For the Davises, taking care of the environment is an important part of farming. Davis said, "Soil sampling enables me to keep a healthy stand of forages. This prevents soil erosion. Poultry water problems are corrected quickly to prevent water loss. Propane brooders are kept adjusted to prevent overuse of energy. 10 stock ponds are managed to provide a good steady water source for cattle. They also provide recreational fishing for the family." The Davis family's care of the environment helps ensure that their farm is productive for generations to come. Justin Davis has been the mayor of Sydney for the last 5 years, was on the city council for 4 years previously, on the county extension council for 4 years, on the Growers Council for Pilgrims for 2 years, and the Cave City Booster Club for 4 years. The Davises are planning to expand their pumpkin operation by 1 to 2 acres and to improve their cattle herd beyond the recent addition of good Angus sires. One of the Davis family's goals is to pass on to their children the farm heritage. The sons Lane and Chase are showing some interest. Lane is a member of the Cave City Future Farmers of America. Justin Davis and his family are recognized as Sharp County's 2011 Arkansas Farm Family of the Year.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
From the Front by Sergeant First Class Michael Eaton. Read by Kent Lepley. Dear John, what is the worst thing that can happen to a deployed soldier? Is it facing the fact that imminent danger exists just a few meters beyond the walls of the forward operating base? Is it the thought or reality of possibly getting killed or watching one of his or her buddies getting killed? Is it the fact that from one minute to the next, we never know what is waiting for us around the next corner, in the next house we clear by force, buried under the roads we drive on, or where the next rocket will impact and explode? No, the worst thing that can happen to a soldier is simply a certain type of letter, email, or phone call. That letter, so generically called the Dear John letter, is the worst thing that can happen to a soldier. It can do more damage than any enemy fire, any bomb dropped, and any type of enemy campaign out there ever seen or known. It is an almost undefendable attack on the soldier directly. It may not draw blood or break bones, but it will seriously and mortally injure and quite possibly kill him or her in one form or another. It is simply amazing the effect a single piece of mail can have on troops while they are deployed. I've seen soldiers come in from terrible firefights, IED detonations, and lengthy ground operations that have taken every ounce of energy and life they had in them. They look like it simply is a deliberate and thought-out process to take the next step and stay standing. Plainly, they have nothing left at all. And yet the minute some NCO or soldier yells the word mail call, their eyes glisten. They run to that spot in a full sprint and say a little prayer to hopefully hear their name called and hold a small piece of home in their hands for a moment. I know soldiers who always carry the last letters from loved ones in the breast pocket over their heart with them on every mission, just so a piece of that loved one is with them in case it is their last moments on earth. I say that because I was, and sometimes am, one of those soldiers. So knowing that, now imagine for a moment that the last letter they got is from their spouse and it says goodbye, don't come home, or the house will be empty when you get here. That kills the soldier from the inside. It may not harm his or her flesh, but they tend to wish it were that easy. Bodily wounds can heal. Mental injuries, wounds to the heart, take much, much longer to heal if they ever do at all. All those hopes, dreams, and aspirations of that glorious moment of coming home and holding that spouse or loved one again, gone in a single instant. The faces of these poor souls are too easy to identify. They stand out even from the shadows. They try to hide it all away and pretend it is not really happening. They are half dead from that moment forward. The effects of these letters are catastrophic and contagious. One soldier with nothing left to go home to is a soldier without motivation, without drive, without purpose anymore. They will totally change from model service members to becoming problems, causing dissension in the ranks, creating an even more hostile environment, as if we are not already in one bad enough as it is just being here. They may even go on as far as to physically hurt themselves or those around them. These are the worst-case scenarios that leaders have to deal with every deployment. They are never isolated events. We can always count on at least a handful every time we go away. They are almost unusable and tend to detract manpower from an already intensive mission, which in turn has many second and third order effects on the unit as a whole. If it seems like I have seen this firsthand, you are right. Not only in the fact that I have survived many combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, I was one of those soldiers. I once received that Dear John phone call. I know what it is to be killed from the inside, struck down with a pain that no medicine can relieve. Obviously, I recovered thanks to some of the finest men and soldiers I have ever had the honor of working with. Men I call my brothers to this day and will till they lay me in the ground. Now I am the happiest I have ever been. I saved my career and moved forward in it thanks to my new wife and my amazing children. I write this to let you know what real pain is to a soldier at the front. It's not the bullets passing through my body, and yes, I have felt a few. It's not the cracking and splintering of bones, and anyone who knows me knows I had more than my share of those too. No, it's that piercing feeling of your heart shattering into a million tiny pieces, and you have no idea how or if you will ever be able to put it back together. But I am living proof that you can. Dear John is deadly, but like most deadly things, some can recover from them and live good and happy lives. Till next time, this is Sergeant First Class Michael A. Heaton from the front. Take care, and God bless.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
Highland Honor Choir Takes Branson by Storm by Christine Linksweiler, read by Kent Lepley. When Miss Fran Self's honor choir was offered the opportunity to perform on stage in Branson, the Highland High School choir teacher knew it was a chance of a lifetime. She and her honor choir students, along with their parents, kicked off a frantic fundraising effort so that they could make the trip to Branson, where they could both attend a music clinic with the popular five-man a cappella group, the Cat's Pajamas, as well as perform as the pre-performance choir for their show. The community rallied around them. Walmart manager Mike Alexander allowed them to have bake sales 2 consecutive Sunday afternoons in front of the store. Wholesale Motors owner Brad Hartness donated an iPod Touch, and one of the honor choir's moms donated an electric guitar, both to be raffled off. Several banks, as well as many local merchants, donated to a cash fund. John and Barbara Homod of Down Home Country Kitchen graciously agreed to host a community talent show, with all proceeds going to the Honor Choir Trip Fund. When all the donations and proceeds were tallied, there was just enough to make the trip happen. On June 2nd, the last day of school, Ms. Self and the choir kids loaded onto a bus for the final high school bus trip for Honor Choir seniors Dominique Richardson, Josh Craven, Trey Mullins, and Christiana Linksweiler. Also Branson bound were Honor Choir members Taylor Clem, Brianna Geisler, Kendall Geisler, Sarah Massey, Autumn Harris, Mandy Cloninger, Amber Fisher, Sarah Lewis, Kiara Boyd, Craig Shumway, Jacob Strano, Joseph Holloway, Greg Self, and Lane Grant. To fill in for choir members who couldn't go and make the sound bigger, Alex Child, Matthew Pierce, and Erica Pierce joined the group. Friday morning, the common room in the hotel where breakfast was served became an informal honor choir rehearsal hall. That day, the kids rode go-karts and played laser tag, as well as took a quick trip to Branson Landing. When they arrived at the Dutton Family Theater that afternoon for their clinic with the Cat's Pajamas, they were nervous and excited, but ready to learn. They opened with For the Longest Time, followed by Africa, For Good, and We Are the World. Miss Self directed them in the chosen numbers, while the Cat's Pajamas took turns critiquing and helping them to improve. The end result was amazing. Finally, it was time for the audience to arrive, when the announcer intoned in his deep voice, "Ladies and gentlemen, as our pre-show performance tonight in the Dutton Family Theater, please give it up for the Highland High School Honor Choir under the direction of Fran Self." The Highland crew, parents, kids, and teacher knew it had all been worthwhile. Many thanks also go to everyone in the community whose donations and support made it possible.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
Cherokee Village police officers sustained minor injuries during arrest, by contributing writer Cindy Harris. On June 16th at approximately 7:11 a.m., Cherokee Village Police Department officers Philip Dunlap and Chris Spurlock were dispatched to 5 Cheyenne Drive to a possible domestic in progress. Dispatch told officers they could hear a female in the background yelling help. Spurlock pulled in just behind Dunlap as Dunlap arrived on the scene. Dunlap walked to the front door of the residence and noticed the sliding glass door was partially opened. He yelled, "Police Department," twice, and then noticed Mrs. Helga Lang at the back room of the residence. She motioned for Dunlap to enter the residence. Dunlap said as he did so, he noticed a black male, Blake Martin, Lang's grandson, in the room with Lang. It was then that Dunlap noticed an odor coming from the room that smelled like gasoline. Dunlap then asked Mrs. Lang to step out to the front of the residence to talk with Officer Spurlock, radioed Spurlock that she was coming out, and asked Martin to stay in the room and speak with him. However, Martin started walking to the front door of the residence. Dunlap repeated his request to Martin twice more for the subject to stay in the residence so he could give his account of the incident. Martin continued walking towards the front door, and Dunlap yelled out, "Stop," to Martin, "or you'll be charged with interfering with government operations." But Martin kept going towards the front door. Dunlap then told Spurlock that Martin was coming out of the front door. When Dunlap got outside the door, Spurlock was trying to get Martin to stop and go back inside to speak with Dunlap, but Martin was yelling at Lang, telling her he was sorry, and kept trying to walk past Spurlock towards her. Spurlock and Dunlap then grabbed Martin to try to restrain him, at which point Martin started resisting and pulling away from the two officers, and a struggle ensued. After approximately 5 seconds of passive resistance, it escalated to violent resistance. Dunlap tried to do a takedown, but due to the porch being such a small area, was unable. After struggling on the porch, Dunlap, Spurlock, and Martin fell down the steps onto the ground and driveway. Spurlock actually landed on his back on the concrete driveway, and the subject landed on top of him. Dunlap again attempted to take down Martin, but the subject lunged at Spurlock, causing them both to fall to the ground and causing Spurlock to strike his head against the corner of the concrete flower bed. While down, Spurlock was able to grab his handheld radio, which had been knocked from his belt during the incident, and call, "We need help." The two officers were able to gain limited control and pin the subject to the ground in a prone position until CBPD Chief Ricky Crook and Hardy Chief of Police Ernie Rose arrived on the scene. Chief Crook handcuffed Martin, and he and Chief Rose placed the subject in the police car. Martin was complaining of his face burning, so Dunlap wiped his face off with a paper towel. Dunlap transported subject to Sharp County Jail, and Spurlock followed, as he said, in case subject became violent during transport. While in transport, Martin started complaining about his face burning again, and Dunlap advised Martin that he would be checked out when he got to Sharp County Jail. After Dunlap transported Martin to jail, the officer returned to the 5 Cheyenne area to get a statement from Lang. Lang stated that Martin threatened to burn the house down and to burn himself. Lang then said that Martin poured gasoline over himself and tore an uncle's picture from the wall, and poured gasoline over the picture, trying to set it on fire. Lang further stated that Martin got belligerent, threw the phone away so that she could not call 911, and proceeded to say that he would kill someone or himself. Lang went on to say she finally got a phone and dialed 911 and called for help from outside the back door of the residence. She said that Spurlock and Dunlap arrived and tried to get Martin on the ground, but he resisted. She further advised that it took both officers to get Martin pinned to the ground, and then Chief Crook arrived and handcuffed him. Lang also stated that Martin told her that he had not taken his medication in 3 days. She said that after Martin was arrested, he was crying and saying he was sorry. She told the officers that Martin absolutely needs to be reevaluated by mental health because she feels he is a danger to himself and others. Dunlap advised Lang about going to the prosecutor's office and doing an involuntary commitment on Martin. Lang said she would do that as soon as she could. The two officers had scrapes, cuts, bruises, and abrasions to their arms, hands, and legs. In addition, Officer Spurlock sustained minor injury to his forehead, but thankfully no major injuries. The affidavit cited the following charges: obstructing governmental operations, Class A misdemeanor, battery in the second degree 2 counts, Class D felony, interference with emergency communication in the first degree, Class A misdemeanor, and aggravated assault on a family or household, Class D felony.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
State Capitol Week in Review from Senator Missy Irvin, June 24, 2011, Little Rock. The state has taken over 2 major school districts that had been in fiscal distress, the Pulaski County Special School District and the Helena-West Helena School District. In each case, the state found continuing financial irregularities that justified the removal of the superintendents and the dissolving of local school boards. It is the second time Helena-West Helena has been taken over by the state. The first time was in 2005. The state returned it to local control in 2008. With about 17,500 students, the Pulaski County District is the state's third largest and the largest district that has been taken over by the state. It encompasses the outer parts of Pulaski County that are not in Little Rock or North Little Rock. Arkansas law authorizes the state to take over a school district for reasons of academic or fiscal distress, and if a district consistently fails to meet academic or financial standards, it may be forced to merge with a nearby district. Among the signs that signal that a school district is in fiscal distress are declining fund balances, having to pay late fees or penalties on tax deposits, failure to provide timely financial reports to auditors, defaulting on debt obligations, and failure to comply with state laws that set minimum teacher salaries. A factor in the state takeover of the Pulaski County District was a financial audit that showed a lack of basic financial accountability, according to the state education commissioner. The Helena-West Helena School District had a declining balance of funds, and audits indicated a lack of financial controls. The state appointed educators with years of experience to run each district. They will report directly to the commissioner. Attorney General sues collection agency. The state Attorney General's office has sued a collection agency named National Credit Adjusters of Hutchinson, Kansas, for failing to respond to an investigation about the agency's collection of payday loans. Payday loan stores no longer do business in Arkansas because of a campaign by the Attorney General to shut them down for violating constitutional limits on usury. The Attorney General has also enforced laws against predatory lending to force 30 online payday lenders from operating in Arkansas. The Kansas firm has been trying to collect old debts for companies that formerly operated payday lending operations in Arkansas. Collecting the debts is illegal because the original loans were illegal in the first place, the Attorney General said. Consumers who are being pressured to pay off an illegal payday loan may call the Attorney General at 1-800-482-8982 or 501-682-2341 to reach the office's consumer hotline. New Highway Director. Dan Flowers, who has been director of the State Highway and Transportation Department for 17 years, has announced his resignation. His final day on the job will be in mid-August. Flowers has worked for the department for 46 years. He will be replaced by Scott Bennett, 45, the department's assistant chief engineer for planning. He began working full-time for the Highway Department in 1989.